Hey guys, so I'm going to read to you today a couple of stories about kind of a little bit more of what Anne's personality was like. So the first story I'm going to read to you kind of just gives you a little bit of an indication of, she was a little bit on the boy crazy side, just in how she was, and she also kind of had an obstinate streak about her. And both of these things are important for you to understand because once she goes in the annex, she doesn't change. Still has her same personality traits. And you can kind of see some ways that those traits interact with other people that are in the annex. One thing I wanted to tell you guys about this book is this book was actually published by Anne's father. And he very kind of carefully chose what entries he put in here. This isn't every single entry that she wrote. He was kind of careful. Anything that was super private that she was writing about, he chose not to put in here. But this still gives you a pretty good idea of really who she was as a person, at least through her dad's eyes. I kind of wonder sometimes how the diary might have been different had Anne published it herself, if there was some entries that might be included that weren't, or entries that maybe were included that she would have chosen not to. You'll see later there's a lot of arguing and disagreement between Anne and her mom, and it might have been interesting to see what she would have chosen to do with that. So I'm going to start. The first entry is Saturday, June 20th, 1942. Dear Kitty, because remember that's what she's calling her diary now. I'll start straight away. It is so peaceful at the moment. Mommy and Daddy are out and Margot has gone to play ping pong with some friends. I've been playing ping pong a lot myself lately. We ping-pongers are very partial to ice cream, especially in the summer, when one gets warm at the game, and we usually finish up with a visit to the nearest ice cream shop, Delphi or Oasis, where the Jews are allowed. We've gone to scrounging for extra pocket money. Oasis is usually full, and among our large circle of friends, we always manage to find some kind-hearted gentleman or boyfriend who presents us with more ice cream than we could devour in a week. I expect you will be rather surprised at the fact that I should talk of boyfriends at my age. Alas, one simply can't seem to avoid it at our school. As soon as a boy asks if he may bicycle home with me and we get into a conversation, 9 times out of 10, I can be sure that he will fall head over heels in love with me immediately and simply won't allow me out of his sight. After a while, it cools down, of course, especially as I take little notice of ardent looks and pedal blithely on. If it gets so far as they begin about asking father, I swerve slightly on my bicycle, my satchel falls, the young man is bound to get off and hand it to me, by which time I have introduced a new topic of conversation. These are the most innocent types. You get some who blow kisses or try to get a hold of your arm, but then they are definitely knocking at the wrong door. I get off my bicycle and refuse to go further in their company or pretend to be insulted and tell them in no uncertain terms to clear off. There, the foundation of our friendship is laid. Till tomorrow, yours, Anne. Sunday, June 21st, 1942. Dear Kitty, our whole Class B is trembling. The reason is that the teachers' meeting is to be held soon. There is much speculation as to who will move up and who will stay put. Because in their school system, you didn't necessarily automatically go to the next grade. You would go as you were ready to go to the next grade, and they would have these meetings periodically about who was moving up. Miep de Jong and I are highly amused at Willem and Jacques, the 2 boys behind us. They won't have a florin left for the holidays. That's a currency. It will all be gone, I'm betting. You'll move up. Shan't. Shall. From morning till night. Even Miep pleads for silence, and my angry outbursts don't calm them. According to me, a quarter of the class should stay where they are. They are some absolute cuckoos, but teachers are the greatest freaks on earth, so perhaps they will be freakish in the right way for once. I'm not afraid about my girlfriends and myself. We'll squeeze through somehow, though I'm not certain about my math. Still, we can but patiently wait. Till then, we cheer each other on. I get along quite well with all my teachers, 9 in all, 7 masters and 2 mistresses. Mr. Kepter, the old math master, was very annoyed with me for a long time because I chatter so much. So I had to write a composition with a chatterbox as the subject. A chatterbox? Whatever could one write? However, deciding I would puzzle that out later, I wrote in my notebook and tried to keep quiet. That evening, when I finished my other homework, my eyes fell on the title of a notebook. I pondered while chewing the end of my fountain pen, that anyone could scribble some nonsense in large letters with words well spaced, but the difficulty was to prove beyond a doubt the necessity of talking. I thought, and then suddenly, having an idea, I filled my 3 slotted lines and felt completely satisfied. My arguments were that talking is a feminine characteristic and that I would do my best to keep it under control, but I should never be able to be cured, for my mother talked as much as I, probably more, and what can one do about inherited qualities? Mr. Kepter had to laugh at my arguments, but when I continued to hold forth in the next lesson, another composition followed. This time it was Incurable Chatterbox. I handed this in, and Mr. Kepner made no complaints for 2 whole lessons. But in the 3rd lesson, it was too much for him again. Anne, as punishment for talking, will do a composition entitled Quack Quack, Says Mrs. Natterbeak. Shouts of laughter came from the class. I had to laugh too, although I felt my attentiveness in the subject was exhausted. I had to think of something else, something entirely original. I was in luck, as my friend Santi writes good poetry and offered to help me by doing the whole composition in verse. I jumped for joy. Kepter wanted to make a fool of me, and this was an absurd theme. I would get my own back and make him the laughingstock of the whole class. The poem was finished and was perfect. It was about a mother duck and a father swan who had 3 baby ducklings. The baby ducklings were bitten to death by the father because they chattered too much. Luckily, Kepter saw the joke, and he read the poem out loud in class with comments and also various other classes. Since then, I'm allowed to talk and never get extra work. In fact, Kepter always jokes about it. Yours, Anne. Wednesday, June 24th, 1942. Dear Kitty, it is boiling hot. We are all positively melting, and in this heat, I have to walk everywhere. Now I can fully appreciate how nice a tram is, but that is a forbidden luxury for Jews. I had to visit the dentist at lunch hour yesterday. It was a long way from our school. I nearly fell asleep in school that afternoon. Luckily, the dentist assistant was very kind and gave me a drink. She's a good sort. We are allowed on the ferry, and that is about all. There is a little boat from the Joseph Ixel. The man there took us at once when we asked him. It is not the Dutch people's fault that we are having such a miserable time. I do wish I didn't have to go to school, as my bicycle was stolen in the Easter holidays, and Daddy has given mummies to a Christian family for safekeeping. But thank goodness, the holidays are nearly here. 1 more week, and the agony is over. Something amusing happened yesterday. I was passing the bicycle sheds when someone called out to me. I looked around, and there was the nice-looking boy I met on the previous evening at my girlfriend Ava's home. He came shyly towards me and introduced himself as Harry Goldberg. I was rather surprised and wondered what he wanted, but I didn't have to wait long. He asked if I would allow him to accompany me to school. As you're going my way, in any case I will, I replied, and so we went together. Harry is 16 and can tell all kinds of amusing stories. He was waiting for me again this morning, and I expect he will from now on. Yours, Anne. So get your notebook out wherever you're keeping it, whether you're doing it digitally in slides or in docs, or if you're doing it on paper, and write a little journal entry for today. See you guys tomorrow.